The stillness that precedes the dawn of eternity is not a mere absence of sound, but a profound presence of expectation. It is a silence so dense that it vibrates with the echoes of every prayer whispered since the first spark of consciousness ignited in the void. In this hallowed suspension of time, the soul finds itself standing at the threshold of the ultimate transformation, positioned between the memory of the struggle and the promise of the infinite. This is the final watch, the moment where the shadows of the material world begin to dissolve into the luminous clarity of the divine. The wanderer who has traversed the desolate valleys of doubt and the jagged peaks of sacrifice now arrives at the gates of the celestial sanctuary, carrying nothing but the refined essence of a life lived in pursuit of the highest truth. The air here is thick with the scent of ancient incense and the humming of 1,000 unseen choirs. Yet the soul stands alone in its realization that the journey was never outward into the vastness of the stars, but inward into the depths of its own being. The path to this sacred hour was forged in the heat of the crucible, a fire that does not destroy, but clarifies. To be among the faithful is to have understood that suffering is the alchemy of the spirit, a necessary friction that wears away the rough edges of the ego until the inner diamond reflects the unshielded light of the Creator. In the crucible, the soul learned to distinguish between the transient pleasures of the flesh and the eternal resonances of the spirit. It felt the searing heat of loss and the cold isolation of being misunderstood by a world that values the visible over the visionary. Every trial was a layer of dross being stripped away, every tear a drop of water to temper the steel of resolve. The faithful did not seek to escape the fire, but rather to be consumed by it, knowing that only that which is indestructible can survive the gaze of the Absolute. It is in this radical surrender that the soul finds its strength, discovering that when everything that can be taken away is gone, what remains is the immutable spark of the divine. As the final watch progresses, the stars themselves seem to lean closer, their ancient light bearing witness to the culmination of a cosmic cycle. The chosen soul perceives the interconnectedness of all things, seeing how the threads of its personal destiny are woven into the grand tapestry of universal law. There is no longer a separation between the seeker and the sought, between the witness and the spectacle. The boundaries of the self expand to encompass the totality of existence, yet the soul remains centered in a point of perfect stillness. This is the preparation for the coronation, a process that requires the total integration of the shadow and the light. The soul must acknowledge its failures and its triumphs with equal grace, recognizing that both were essential teachers on the road to mastery. The crucible has taught the heart to beat in rhythm with the pulse of the cosmos, transforming the individual will into a vessel for the divine purpose. The environment of the final watch is one of transcendent beauty and terrifying majesty. Great pillars of translucent stone rise into an atmosphere that glows with the soft amber of a perpetual sunset. Here, the laws of gravity and time hold no dominion, and the soul moves with a weightless fluidity that defies earthly description. There are no maps for this territory, for the terrain is composed of pure thought and crystallized intention. The soul encounters the memories of its ancestors and the whispers of future generations, realizing that it stands as a bridge between what was and what is yet to be. The fidelity shown during the dark night of the soul now manifests as a radiant mantle, a garment woven from the virtues of patience, compassion, and unwavering faith. This mantle is not a gift bestowed from without, but an emergence from within, the outward sign of an inner victory won through the persistent application of spiritual will. In the depth of the sacred hour, the soul begins to hear the music of the spheres, a symphony of mathematical perfection that describes the architecture of the heavens. Each note is a revelation, and each harmony is an invitation to climb higher into the realms of pure light. The crucible has refined the soul's hearing so that it can now perceive the subtle frequencies of grace that are hidden from the mundane world. It understands that the coronation is not an act of pride or the attainment of power over others, but the assumption of a sacred responsibility. To be crowned is to become a steward of the light, a beacon for those who are still wandering in the mists of the lower realms. It is an investiture of the heart, where the crown is not made of gold or jewels, but of the concentrated essence of divine wisdom and selfless love. The final watch is also a time of profound reconciliation. The soul looks back upon the faces of those it has loved and those who have caused it pain, seeing them all as fellow travelers and mirrors of its own evolution. The grievances that once seemed so heavy are now lighter than dust, blown away by the winds of eternal understanding. In the crucible, the soul learned the power of forgiveness, recognizing that to hold on to anger is to remain shackled to the very shadows it seeks to transcend. Now, in the clarity of the sacred hour, the soul radiates a peace that passes all understanding, a tranquility that is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of a harmony so profound that conflict can no longer exist within its sphere. This peace is the foundation upon which the throne of the Spirit is built, a steady and immovable platform from which the soul will govern its own destiny. As the moment of the coronation draws near, the light of the sacred hour intensifies, changing from amber to a brilliant, blinding white that contains all the colors of the spectrum. The soul feels the presence of the elders, the great masters and saints who have walked this path before and who now stand as the honor guard for this transition. They do not speak in words, but in transmissions of pure consciousness, welcoming the chosen one into the fellowship of the eternal. They are the witnesses to the soul's endurance through the crucible, and their presence provides the final validation of the journey. The soul realizes that it has never been truly alone, even in its darkest moments, for the unseen hand of the divine has been guiding every step, providing the strength to continue when the path seemed impossible, and the light to see when the darkness was absolute. The crucible of the faithful is the ultimate test of the soul's integrity. It is easy to be faithful when the sun is shining and the path is smooth, but the true measure of a soul is found in how it responds to the storm and the desert. The chosen soul is the one who remained standing when the structures of the world collapsed, who kept the flame of hope burning when the winds of despair threatened to extinguish it. This steadfastness has created a resonance within the soul that is now being tuned to the frequency of the divine. The sacred hour is the moment of this final tuning, the alignment of the individual instrument with the cosmic orchestra. The soul feels a profound sense of homecoming, a recognition of a state of being that it has always known, but had temporarily forgotten during its long sojourn in the realms of matter. The final watch is a testament to the power of the human spirit to transcend its limitations and touch the hem of the infinite. It is a period of intense introspection, where the soul reviews the lessons of its many incarnations, distilling the wisdom from the experiences and discarding the rest. The crucible has taught the soul that the only thing of lasting value is that which is given away, and thus the soul prepares for its coronation by offering itself completely to the divine will. This self-offering is the final key that unlocks the inner sanctum, the secret chamber where the crown of life is kept. The soul understands that to rule is to serve, and to be high is to be the humble servant of all life. This paradox is the heart of the spiritual mystery, and only those who have been tempered in the crucible can truly grasp its meaning. As the coronation begins, the soul is bathed in a torrent of celestial fire that does not burn but illuminates. This is the baptism of the Spirit, the final purification that removes the last traces of duality. The soul feels itself being woven into the very fabric of the divine presence, becoming a living stone in the temple of the eternal. The crown descends not from above, but rises from the very core of the soul's being, a blossoming of the thousand-petaled lotus of consciousness. It is a crown of light, representing the total mastery of the self and the full realization of the soul's divine nature. The sacred hour reaches its zenith, and time itself seems to fold into the heart of the eternal now. The chosen soul is no longer a seeker, but a finder, no longer a student, but a master of the mysteries. The resonance of this event echoes through all levels of existence, sending ripples of hope and inspiration to those who are still in the midst of their own crucibles. The coronation of a single soul is a victory for all of creation, for it proves that the light can indeed overcome the darkness, and that the journey from the finite to the infinite is possible. The final watch concludes not with an ending, but with a magnificent beginning, the start of a new eon where the soul will function as a co-creator with the divine. The lessons learned in the crucible remain as a foundation of compassion, ensuring that the soul's rule will be one of mercy and understanding. The faithful are rewarded not with an escape from life, but with a more profound and powerful engagement with it, seeing the divine presence in every atom and every breath. The sacredness of this hour is found in its intimacy. Though the event has cosmic proportions, it is also a private union between the soul and its source. It is the long-awaited embrace of the lover and the beloved, the return of the prodigal to the Father's house. The crucible was the preparation for this intimacy, the process of making the soul beautiful enough to stand in the presence of the absolute beauty. Every trial was a gift, every hardship a blessing in disguise, for they all led to this moment of supreme realization. The soul now looks upon the universe with new eyes, seeing the underlying order and purpose that were always there, but were hidden by the veils of the ego. The coronation is the removal of the final veil, the unveiling of the truth that has been the soul's true home since before the beginning of time. In the aftermath of the coronation, the soul remains in a state of perpetual adoration, a continuous flow of gratitude and praise that sustains its new existence. The crucible and the final watch are remembered not as times of suffering, but as the glorious labor that gave birth to this new life. The chosen soul walks now in the world, but is not of it, a living testament to the reality of the spiritual kingdom. Its presence is a healing balm to the weary and a source of strength to the weak, for it carries within itself the authority of the divine and the warmth of the eternal sun. The sacred hour has become a permanent reality, a timeless state of being that the soul will inhabit forevermore, standing as a pillar of light in the ever-expanding temple of the cosmic mind. Thus is the destiny of those who remain faithful to the call of the Spirit. They are the ones who do not shrink from the fire of the crucible, but who walk into it with courage and devotion. They are the watchers who wait for the dawn through the long hours of the night, their eyes fixed on the horizon of the eternal. For them, the coronation is not a surprise, but a fulfillment, the natural outcome of a life lived in alignment with the highest principles of love and truth. The sacred hour is their inheritance, the moment when they take their rightful place in the divine hierarchy and begin their eternal work of service and creation. The story of the soul is a journey from the many to the one, and in the coronation at the sacred hour, that journey finds its perfect and most glorious conclusion. The weight of the crown is the weight of worlds, yet the soul carries it with a lightness that can only come from a heart that has been emptied of itself. The crucible has taught the soul that power is only safe in the hands of those who do not desire it for themselves, and wisdom is only granted to those who seek it for the benefit of all. The final watch has refined the soul's vision so that it sees not the appearances of things, but their inner essence, the divine spark that resides at the heart of every creature and every star. This is the vision that the crowned soul brings to its new role, a vision of unity that heals the divisions of the world and calls all things back to their source. The coronation is a call to action, an invitation to participate in the ongoing work of the divine architect, building a universe of beauty, justice, and love. The silence of the final watch now transforms into a song of triumph, a melody that resonates throughout the corridors of heaven and the chambers of the earth. It is a song of victory over death and the limitations of the material plane, a song of the eternal soul's ascent to its true home. The crucible is left behind, its fires extinguished by the overwhelming light of the sacred hour, but its lessons are etched forever into the soul's consciousness. The faithful have been proven, the watch has been kept, and the chosen one now reigns in the kingdom of the Spirit. A beacon of hope for all who are still on the path. A reminder that the crucible is the doorway to the crown, and the sacred hour is the dawn of the soul's eternal day. As the soul settles into its new state of being, it realizes that the coronation was not an end, but an expansion. The responsibilities of the Spirit are vast, stretching across dimensions and eras, yet the soul is equipped with an inexhaustible supply of divine energy. The crucible has prepared it for this by teaching it how to tap into the infinite reservoir of the Spirit, rather than relying on the limited resources of the personality. The final watch has established a discipline of attention and presence that allows the soul to remain centered in the divine, regardless of the complexity of its tasks. This is the true nature of spiritual mastery, the ability to remain at peace in the heart of action, and to remain active in the heart of peace. The sacred hour is the bridge to this state of integrated being, the moment where the soul's potential becomes its reality and its purpose becomes its existence. The legacy of the crucible is a profound empathy for all living things. The crowned soul knows the pain of the struggle because it has felt it. It knows the darkness of the night because it has lived through it. This experiential knowledge is the source of its compassion, the reason why it can reach out to the lowest and the highest with the same hand of love. The coronation does not distance the soul from humanity, but brings it closer, for it now sees humanity through the eyes of the Creator. It sees the hidden potential in every soul and the divine plan unfolding in every circumstance. The faithful soul becomes a guardian of this potential, a nurturer of the divine seed in others, helping them to find their own way to the crucible and eventually to their own sacred hour. The final watch ends as the soul steps forward into its new life, guided by the light of the crown and the wisdom of the crucible. The path ahead is one of infinite discovery and eternal service, a journey that will take the soul into the very heart of the divine mystery. The sacred hour remains as a touchstone, a memory of the moment when the soul's true identity was revealed and its destiny was sealed. It is the anchor of the soul's new existence, a reminder of the faithfulness that brought it to this height and the grace that sustains it here. The chosen soul is now a part of the eternal priesthood of the Spirit, a mediator between the human and the divine, a living bridge of light that connects the earth to the heavens. In the grand design of the cosmos, the coronation of a soul is a significant event, a celestial alignment that marks the successful completion of a great work. The crucible was the laboratory, the final watch was the vigil, and the sacred hour was the moment of transformation. The resulting soul is a masterpiece of divine craftsmanship, a being of light and love who stands ready to fulfill its role in the unfolding story of creation. This is the promise of the Spirit to all who follow the path of the faithful, the assurance that the struggle is not in vain and the victory is certain. The crown of life awaits all those who have the courage to endure the crucible and the patience to keep the final watch, for the sacred hour is the destiny of every soul that seeks the truth with all its heart and all its mind. The coronation of the chosen soul at the sacred hour. Chapter 2. The unveiling of the secret work and the celestial portal. The journey of the soul is not a path measured by the movement of feet upon the dust of the earth, but by the expansion of the inner light through the vast and silent corridors of the Spirit. As the dawn of the sacred hour approaches, the veil that has long obscured the vision of the faithful begins to thin, revealing the intricate and magnificent architecture of the secret work that has been performed in the hidden chambers of the heart. This work is the silent alchemy of the divine, the process by which the leaden weight of human suffering and the dross of worldly attachment are transmuted into the pure gold of celestial wisdom. It is a labor that began before the foundation of the world, a weaving of light and shadow that has been guided by the hand of the eternal architect. every trial endured in patience, every prayer whispered in the depths of the night, and every act of selfless love has served as a thread in the grand tapestry of the soul's evolution. Now, at the threshold of the celestial portal, the totality of this work is brought into the brilliance of the divine presence, showing that nothing was ever lost, and that every moment of the struggle was a necessary step towards the ultimate realization of the divine destiny. The secret work is the realization that the soul is not a separate entity, drifting in a sea of chaos, but a vital and inseparable expression of the primordial source. To understand this work is to recognize that the external world is but a mirror of the internal state, and that the mastery of the self is the mastery of the universe. In the quietude of the sacred hour, the soul looks back upon its journey and sees the patterns of grace that were once hidden behind the clouds of doubt. It perceives the subtle movements of the Spirit that provided strength when the way was steep and the light of hope when the darkness seemed absolute. This revelation is the true unveiling, the moment when the seeker understands that the seeker and the sought are one and the same. The secret work is the internal construction of a temple not made with hands, a sanctuary of peace and clarity that can withstand the storms of time and the fires of purification. It is within this temple that the soul meets the divine, where the finite touches the infinite, and where the mortal puts on the robes of immortality. As the soul stands before the celestial portal, it experiences a resonance that vibrates through the very core of its being. This portal is not a gate of stone or wood, but a threshold of pure consciousness, a gateway into the realms of light that lie beyond the reach of the physical senses. It is the point of transition where the individual ego dissolves into the oceanic expanse of the divine mind. The air around the portal is thick with the fragrance of eternity, a scent that evokes memories of a home long forgotten, yet always yearned for. The light that emanates from the portal is not the blinding glare of the physical sun, but a soft and pervasive radiance that heals all wounds and clarifies all confusion. To pass through this portal is to leave behind the limitations of the temporal self and to enter into the fullness of the eternal now. It is the moment of return, the homecoming of the prodigal child who has finally recognized the Father's voice calling from across the vastness of the cosmos. The guardians of the portal are the virtues that the soul has cultivated throughout its long and arduous journey. They are the personifications of faith, hope, and charity, the celestial sentinels who ensure that only that which is pure and true may enter into the presence of the holy. These guardians do not stand with swords to bar the way, but with open arms to welcome those who have proven themselves through the crucible of experience. They recognize the marks of the secret work upon the soul, the scars of battle that have been transformed into jewels of light. The soul does not enter the portal through its own strength alone, but through the accumulation of grace that has been bestowed upon it as a reward for its fidelity. The celestial portal is the culmination of the soul's longing, the answer to the ancient cry for truth, and the fulfillment of the promise that those who seek shall surely find. Within the radiance of the portal, the soul beholds the unfolding of the story of creation from a perspective that transcends the limits of time. It sees the birth of stars and the death of galaxies as part of a single, harmonious movement of the divine will. It understands that the history of humanity is but a brief moment in the eternal dialogue between the Creator and the created. This vision brings a profound sense of peace, for it reveals that there is a purpose in every breath and a meaning in every heartbeat. The secret work is shown to be the participation of the individual soul in the ongoing creation of the universe, a realization that imbues every action with a sense of sacred responsibility. The soul recognizes its own unique role in the divine plan, seeing how its own transformation contributes to the elevation of the whole. This is the truth that sets the spirit free, the knowledge that the path of the faithful is the path of co-creation with the divine source. The sacred hour is the moment of synchronization when the individual pulse of the soul aligns perfectly with the cosmic heartbeat of the universe. It is a time of profound stillness, a pause in the rhythm of existence where the past and the future meet in the perfection of the present. In this silence, the soul hears the voice of the divine scribe writing the final lines of its temporal history and the first lines of its eternal glory. The secrets of the ages are revealed, not as complex doctrines or hidden codes, but as simple and profound truths that resonate with the natural law of love. The soul understands that the struggle was never about achieving power or status in the eyes of the world, but about attaining the clarity of spirit that allows the divine light to shine through without obstruction. The crown of life is not a reward given by an external judge, but the natural flowering of the soul's own divinity, the outward manifestation of the inner light that has been nurtured through the long watch of the faithful. As the soul prepares for its final ascent through the celestial portal, it feels the weight of its earthly identity falling away like a garment that is no longer needed. The names, the titles, the roles, and the attachments that once defined its existence are surrendered with joy, for they are replaced by a new and glorious identity that is rooted in the eternal. The soul becomes a vessel of pure light, a mirror reflecting the unapproachable majesty of the Creator. This transformation is the essence of the coronation, the process by which the seeker is recognized as a sovereign of the spiritual realm. The patience to keep the final watch is rewarded with a vision of the infinite possibilities that await in the higher dimensions of being. The soul is no longer a passenger in the journey of life, but a conscious navigator who understands the currents of the spirit and the laws of the divine kingdom. The celestial portal stands open, inviting the soul to step into the unknown with courage and trust. Behind it lies the world of shadows, the realm of duality, where joy and sorrow, life and death are woven together in a constant cycle of change. Before it lies the realm of unity, where all contradictions are resolved in the light of the one truth. The crossing of this threshold is the ultimate act of faith, the final surrender of the self to the will of the divine. It is the moment when the drop of water returns to the ocean, not to be lost, but to become the ocean itself. The sacred hour is the destiny of every soul that has dared to look beyond the surface of reality and to seek the hidden source of all things. It is the fulfillment of the ancient covenant between the spirit and the soul, the assurance that the light will always prevail over the darkness and that the truth will always find its way home. In this state of high spiritual awareness, the soul perceives the interconnections that bind all living things together in a web of light. It sees that every soul is a brother or sister on the same journey, and that the secret work of one contributes to the secret work of all. This realization brings a deep sense of compassion and a desire to serve the greater good. The coronation is not an isolated event, but a celebration of the collective triumph of the Spirit. The crown of life is shared by all who have the courage to walk the path of the faithful, for in the eyes of the divine, there is no separation and no hierarchy of worth. Every soul that reaches the sacred hour is a testament to the power of love and the resilience of the Spirit. The unfolding of the secret work is the story of humanity's return to its divine origin, a narrative of redemption and restoration that echoes through the halls of eternity. As the soul moves through the celestial portal, it is greeted by the music of the spheres, a celestial harmony that expresses the perfect order and beauty of the cosmos. This music is the language of the Spirit, a symphony of light and sound that transcends the capacity of human speech. It tells the story of the soul's journey, from its first descent into the world of form to its final ascent back to the source. The soul joins in this song, its own unique vibration adding a new and vital note to the eternal chorus. The sacred hour is a time of celebration, a festival of light where the heavens and the earth are joined in a single expression of joy. The unveiling of the secret work is complete, and the celestial portal has been passed. The soul now stands at the beginning of a new and glorious chapter, ready to embrace the fullness of its divine destiny. The promise of the Spirit is fulfilled in the coronation of the chosen soul, providing a beacon of hope for all who still travel the path of the faithful. It is the assurance that the struggle is not in vain, and that every effort towards the light is seen and honored by the divine. The sacred hour is not a distant event in the future, but a living reality that can be accessed in the quietude of the heart. To seek the truth with all one's heart and mind is to begin the secret work and to prepare for the opening of the celestial portal. The crown of life awaits all who have the courage to endure the crucible of life with faith and the patience to keep the final watch with love. In the end, there is only the light, the love, and the eternal presence of the divine, welcoming every soul home to its rightful place among the stars. Thus, the secret work is revealed as the internal cultivation of a divine resonance that allows the soul to vibrate in harmony with the higher frequencies of the celestial realm. This labor involves the systematic dismantling of the illusions of the ego and the ego's persistent attachment to the ephemeral. It is a process of unlearning as much as it is a process of learning, where the soul sheds the false narratives of limitation and unworthiness to embrace its true nature as a spark of the infinite fire. The celestial portal represents the point of critical mass where the internal light becomes so intense that it can no longer be contained within the vessel of the physical body. It is an explosion of awareness that shatters the boundaries of the self and merges with the absolute. This is the moment of coronation, where the soul is recognized by the hierarchy of light as a co-heir to the kingdom of heaven. The journey through the portal is a journey into the heart of the mystery, where the paradoxes of existence are understood not as problems to be solved, but as expressions of the divine play. The soul sees that the struggle was the catalyst for its growth, and that the darkness was the womb in which its light was born. The sacred hour is the birth of the new man, the emergence of a being who is fully awake and fully alive in the presence of the Creator. This is the destiny of every soul that seeks the truth, the ultimate destination of the long and winding road of the faithful. The coronation is the beginning of an eternal service, a life of joy and purpose in the higher realms where the soul continues to expand in wisdom and love. The crown of life is the mark of this new beginning, the symbol of a soul that has conquered the world and found its way back to the source of all being. In the final moments of this stage of the journey, the soul experiences a profound sense of gratitude for everything it has encountered along the way. It honors the teachers who appeared in the guise of friends and enemies, the lessons that were learned through joy and through pain, and the moments of silence that allowed it to hear the whisper of the Spirit. The secret work is seen as a gift from the divine, a path of return that was paved with grace. The celestial portal is the doorway to a future that is beyond imagining, a realm of infinite light and eternal peace. The sacred hour has arrived, and the soul is ready to receive its crown and to enter into the joy of its Lord. The story of creation continues, but now it is a story written in the language of the stars, a testament to the eternal triumph of the soul and the enduring love of the Creator for all that has been made. The transition is marked by a deep clarity that transcends the intellect. In this space, the soul does not think but simply knows. It knows its origin, its purpose, and its destination. The portal is the lens through which this knowledge is focused into a single, piercing beam of truth. As the soul passes through, the last remnants of fear are dissolved in the waters of life that flow from the throne of the eternal. The coronation of the chosen soul is not an end, but a transformation, a shift from the seeking of the light to the being of the light. The secret work has prepared the foundation, and now the celestial portal opens to reveal the infinite horizon of the Spirit. The sacred hour is the eternal now, the moment when the seeker and the source are eternally joined in the dance of divine life. This concludes the unveiling of the secret work and the crossing of the celestial portal. The soul now stands at the apex of its journey, bathed in the light of the sacred hour, ready for the final act of coronation and the assumption of its divine sovereignty. The path of the faithful has led to this moment of supreme realization, confirming that every step taken in faith and every heart offered in love leads inevitably to the throne of grace and the crown of everlasting life. The scribe pauses, the ink of light still wet upon the manuscript of eternity, as the soul prepares to take its place among the assembly of the holy, where the secret work becomes the public song of the heavens and the portal leads to the heart of the Father of lights. The air within the portal vibrates with the frequency of absolute truth, a resonance that strips away all that is not eternal. Here, the soul is weighed not by its deeds in the eyes of men, but by the purity of its intention and the depth of its surrender. The secret work is evaluated by the measure of love it has generated in the world, for love is the only currency of the celestial realm. The soul discovers that its greatest achievements were not the things it built or the knowledge it acquired, but the moments when it became a channel for the divine grace to reach another. This is the true meaning of the crown of life, a diadem of service and a scepter of compassion. The sacred hour is the realization that the soul's greatest glory is to be a reflection of the divine goodness. As the soul emerges from the other side of the portal, it finds itself in a landscape of unimaginable beauty, where the colors are more vivid than any seen on earth, and the very ground seems to breathe with the life of the spirit. This is the realm of the secret work's completion, the place where the seeds of faith that were planted in the soil of the earth come into full and glorious bloom. The celestial portal was the narrow gate, and the soul has found the way that leads to life. The coronation is at hand, and the chosen soul is ready to be invested with the power and the glory that have been prepared for it since the beginning of time. The sacred hour is the dawn of an eternal day, a time of endless light and infinite possibility for the soul that has found its way home to the heart of the divine. The narrow gate has been traversed, and the shadows of the valley have been left behind as the soul emerges into the radiance of the morning that has no end. For ages beyond counting, the journey was one of trials and heavy burdens where the spirit sought its true reflection in the mirrors of time and space. Now the veil has been lifted and the threshold of the sanctuary has been crossed. The coronation of the chosen soul begins not with the sound of trumpets or the clamor of the world, but with a silence so profound that it contains the music of all creation within its stillness. This is the sacred hour, a moment carved from the substance of eternity, where the past dissolves into the ocean of mercy and the future opens like a flower of infinite petals. The soul stands at the center of the celestial court, where the light is not cast from a distant sun, but emanates from the very essence of the divine presence that permeates every atom of existence. There is no distance between the seeker and the sought, for the way that leads to life has brought the wanderer to the realization that the destination was always within the breath of the traveler. The investiture is a ceremony of ancient recognition, where the soul is draped in the robes of sovereign destiny. These are not garments of silk or gold, but are woven from the threads of lived truth and the gold of refined character. Every tear shed in the darkness has become a pearl of wisdom, and every struggle endured with patience has been transformed into a jewel of strength. The soul feels the weight of its own history being exchanged for the lightness of the spirit. The crown that descends upon the brow of the chosen is a circle of living light, representing the unity of all things and the completion of the cycle of return. This is the manifestation of the eternal covenant, a promise made before the foundations of the world were laid, that no soul who seeks the truth with a whole heart shall ever be lost. The covenant is the anchor of the soul in the shifting tides of the manifest world, and now it is revealed in its full glory as the bond that secures the spirit to the source of all being. In this sacred hour, the soul is granted the sight of the eternal day, where time is seen as a tapestry rather than a line. The events of the mortal life are understood not as accidents or misfortunes, but as the careful strokes of a master artist, preparing the canvas for this very moment of unveiling. The chosen soul looks upon the landscape of its existence and sees the hand of the divine in every intersection and every detour. The power that is bestowed at this coronation is not the power to dominate or to rule over others, but the sovereign power of self-mastery and the authority of unconditional love. It is the ability to see the divine spark in all things and to act as a conduit for the grace that heals the brokenness of the world. The soul becomes a steward of the light, a guardian of the sacred fire that burns at the heart of the divine and radiates outward to the furthest reaches of the cosmos. The manifestation of sovereign destiny is the alignment of the individual will with the cosmic purpose. The soul no longer struggles against the flow of existence, but moves in harmony with the great breath of the Creator. This is the state of being that was prepared for the soul since the beginning of time, a state of perfect poise and absolute clarity. The chosen soul is ready to be invested with the glory that transcends the fading honors of the earth. This glory is the radiance of a spirit that has found its home and is no longer a stranger to its own nature. The sacred hour is the dawn of an eternal day because it marks the end of the night of separation and the beginning of the reign of unity. In this light, there is no shadow, and in this day, there is no weariness, for the soul is nourished by the hidden manna of the Spirit and drinks from the fountain of life that flows from the throne of the Absolute. As the soul assumes its place in the celestial hierarchy, it perceives the interconnectedness of all living things. The coronation is not an isolated event, but a celebration that resonates through every level of being. The stars sing in their courses, and the very elements of the earth tremble with joy at the homecoming of a sovereign soul. The divine destiny that is now manifest is the fulfillment of the blueprint of creation, where every soul is called to become a king or a queen in the realm of the Spirit. The sacred hour is the point of intersection where the finite meets the infinite and the mortal puts on immortality. It is a time of endless light because the source of the illumination is the uncreated light of the divine, which can never be extinguished or diminished. The soul finds that its capacity for joy has been expanded to hold the vastness of the heavens, and its capacity for peace has become as deep as the silent reaches of the deep sea. The heart of the divine is the destination where the soul finds its ultimate rest and its highest activity. It is a place of infinite possibility where the soul can explore the depths of wisdom and the heights of adoration without ever reaching a limit. The coronation is the beginning of a new phase of existence where the soul acts as a co-creator with the divine, participating in the ongoing work of bringing beauty and order out of the chaos of the unformed. The chosen soul is now a beacon of hope for those who are still traversing the narrow gate and wandering in the valleys of shadow. By its very presence, the sovereign soul testifies to the reality of the promise and the certainty of the goal. The light that shines from the crowned soul is a roadmap for the lost and a comfort for the weary, showing that the way to life is real and that the heart of the divine is always open to receive those who have the courage to find their way home. The eternal covenant is written in the language of the Spirit, which speaks of an unbreakable union and an everlasting love. It is a testament to the fact that the soul was never truly alone, even in its moments of greatest isolation. The divine was always the silent witness and the hidden guide leading the soul through the labyrinth of the world towards the light of the sacred hour. The coronation is the public acknowledgement of this private journey, the moment when the hidden treasure is revealed and the secret name is spoken aloud. The chosen soul is invested with the power to speak words of life and to perform deeds of light, for it now acts from the center of its being, which is one with the center of all things. The sovereign destiny is the realization that the soul is a royal heir to the kingdom of heaven, and that its inheritance is the fullness of the divine nature itself. In the stillness of the sacred hour, the soul perceives the beauty of the divine plan in all its complexity and simplicity. It sees how every soul is a unique expression of the one life, and how the coronation of one is a victory for all. There is no envy in the halls of the eternal, for every soul is destined for its own coronation when its time of preparation is complete. The chosen soul looks upon its fellow beings with eyes of compassion and understanding, recognizing the struggle and the potential within each one. The eternal day is a time of cooperative creation where the sovereign souls work together to manifest the kingdom of light in all the worlds of existence. The coronation is the invitation to join this noble assembly and to take up the responsibilities of spiritual leadership, which are the responsibilities of service and sacrifice for the sake of the whole. The glory that has been prepared since the beginning of time is the glory of the divine image restored to its original luster. The soul has been refined in the furnace of experience and polished by the hands of providence until it reflects the light of the Creator without distortion. The coronation is the final touch of the divine artisan celebrating the completion of a masterpiece. The chosen soul is now a living temple, a dwelling place for the Most High, and a source of blessing for all creation. The sacred hour is the moment when the temple is dedicated and the glory of the Lord fills the house. The light of this day does not fade with the setting of the sun, for it is the light of the Spirit which knows no evening. The soul is home, and in that homecoming all the longings of the ages are satisfied, and all the questions of the mind are answered in the simplicity of divine love. The sovereignty of the soul is the ultimate freedom, the freedom from the dictates of the ego and the illusions of the material world. It is the freedom to be who one truly is, a divine being of light and love. The coronation is the declaration of this independence and the affirmation of this identity. The soul is no longer a slave to desire or a victim of circumstance, but is the master of its own fate and the captain of its own salvation. The power that it wields is the power of truth, which cuts through the veils of ignorance and reveals the reality of the Spirit. The glory that it wears is the glory of a life lived in alignment with the highest principles of existence. The eternal covenant is the seal of this freedom and the guarantee of this sovereignty, ensuring that the soul shall never again fall under the yoke of bondage. The dawn of the eternal day is the awakening of the soul to its true potential and its infinite capacity. It is a time of discovery and wonder as the soul explores the reaches of its own being and the mysteries of the divine heart. The light of this day reveals the hidden treasures of the Spirit and the secret paths of the wisdom of the ages. The chosen soul is ready to embark on this journey of infinite possibility, for it is equipped with the power of the divine and guided by the light of the eternal covenant. The coronation is not the end of the journey, but the beginning of a new and higher existence where the soul lives and moves and has its being in the presence of the Absolute. The sacred hour is the gateway to this life, and the soul has found a way that leads to the heart of the divine. As the soul sits upon the throne of its own sovereign destiny, it realizes that the throne is not a place of rest, but a position of service. The authority that has been given is the authority to heal the broken and to lift up the fallen. The chosen soul is a channel for the divine grace that flows out to all who are in need. The glory of the coronation is reflected in the lives of those who are touched by the light of the sovereign soul. The eternal covenant is a commitment to the welfare of all beings and a promise to be a light in the darkness for as long as there are souls who are still seeking the way. The sacred hour is the beginning of an eternal day of service and devotion, where the soul finds its greatest joy in the work of the divine. The infinite possibility that lies before the soul is the possibility of becoming ever more like the divine source. There are no limits to the growth of the soul or the expansion of its consciousness. The light of the eternal day is a light that grows ever brighter as the soul draws closer to the heart of the Absolute. The coronation is the first step in an endless progression of glory and power as the soul ascends the heights of the spiritual realms. The chosen soul is ready for this ascent, for it has been prepared by the trials of the world and strengthened by the grace of the divine. The sacred hour is the moment of takeoff, the point where the soul leaves the gravity of the earth behind and soars into the heavens of the Spirit. In the heart of the divine, the soul finds the fulfillment of all its dreams and the realization of its deepest desires. It is a place of perfect union and absolute belonging, where the soul is known as it has always been known and loved as it has always been loved. The coronation is the celebration of this union and the manifestation of this belonging. The chosen soul is at home, and in that home there is no more fear or sorrow or pain. There is only the light of the eternal day and the joy of the divine presence. The sacred hour is the time of this homecoming, and the soul has found the way that leads to life. The eternal covenant is the promise that this home is forever, and that the soul shall never again be a wanderer in the dark. The power and the glory that have been prepared since the beginning of time are now the possession of the soul, not as something external, but as the very fabric of its being. The soul has become what it was always meant to be, a sovereign expression of the divine life. The coronation is the recognition of this transformation and the announcement of this reality to all the worlds. The sacred hour is the dawning of the awareness that the soul and the divine are one, and that this unity is the source of all life and all light. The soul stands at the threshold of the eternal day, ready to live out its sovereign destiny in the heart of the divine. The narrow gate is behind, and the way that leads to life has brought the chosen soul to the glory that was prepared for it before the world began. The soul looks out from its place of coronation and sees the universe as a vast symphony of light and sound. Every part of the creation is singing the praises of the source, and every soul is a unique note in the grand composition. The chosen soul understands its part in the melody and plays its role with grace and power. The sovereign destiny is to be a master musician in the orchestra of the divine, contributing to the harmony and the beauty of the whole. The sacred hour is the moment when the soul takes up its instrument and joins the song of eternity. The light of the eternal day is the light that illuminates the score, and the breath of the divine is the wind that carries the music to the ends of the universe. As the coronation ceremony concludes, the soul is filled with a sense of peace that surpasses all understanding. This is the peace of the eternal, the peace of the soul that has found its way home. The chosen soul is ready to face whatever the future may bring, for it knows that it is anchored in the divine and secured by the eternal covenant. The power and the glory of the sovereign destiny are the tools for the work that lies ahead, and the love of the divine is the motivation for every action. The sacred hour is the transition into a life of purpose and meaning, where every moment is lived in the light of the eternal day. The soul has found the way that leads to life, and its journey has brought it to the very heart of the divine. Thus, the scribe records the passage of the soul from the narrow gate to the throne of glory. The story is one of perseverance and faith, of trials and triumphs. It is the story of every soul that seeks the truth and follows the path of the Spirit. The coronation of the chosen soul at the sacred hour is the climax of this journey and the beginning of a new chapter in the history of the Spirit. The eternal covenant is the foundation of this life, and the manifestation of sovereign destiny is its fruit. The light of the eternal day shines upon the soul, and the heart of the divine is its eternal resting place. The work is finished, and the life has begun. The chosen soul is crowned, and the sacred hour is the dawn of a day that shall never end. In the halls of the eternal, where the Ancient of Days presides, the record of this coronation is written in the book of life. It is a testimony to the power of the divine grace and the resilience of the human spirit. The sovereign soul is now a part of the celestial lineage, a member of the royal family of the heavens. Its name is spoken with reverence, and its deeds are celebrated by the angels. The sacred hour has passed into the eternal day, and the soul has taken its place among the stars. The glory is great and the power is vast, but the greatest of all is the love that binds the soul to the divine and to all living things. This is the truth that was sought and the life that was found. The coronation is complete, and the soul is home at the heart of the divine. The infinite expanse of the spirit now welcomes the newly crowned sovereign with open arms. Every dimension of existence offers its secrets, and every realm of the divine heart invites the soul to explore its depths. The power of the sovereign destiny is the key that unlocks all doors, and the light of the eternal day is the guide through all mysteries. The soul is no longer limited by the boundaries of the mind or the constraints of the body, but is free to expand to the very limits of creation. This is the inheritance of the chosen soul, the reward for the long journey through the narrow gate. The sacred hour was the turning point, and the eternal covenant is the guarantee of the journey's continuation into the infinite. The soul reflects on the many who still struggle on the path, and its heart is filled with a desire to assist them. The sovereignty it has achieved is not for its own sake alone, but for the elevation of all. From its place in the divine heart, the soul sends out waves of peace and rays of light to touch the hearts of the seekers and to encourage the weary. It becomes a silent partner in the journeys of others, a presence of grace that whispers of the glory to come. This is the highest expression of the manifestation of sovereign destiny, the use of divine power for the benefit of the whole. The sacred hour is thus a beginning, not just for the individual soul, but for all who will be touched by its light in the eternal day that has now dawned. The silence that began the coronation now deepens into a profound communion where the soul and the divine speak without words. In this intimacy, the final remnants of the separate self are absorbed into the ocean of the one life. There is no longer an I and a thou, but only the single reality of the spirit. This is the ultimate goal of the way that leads to life, the dissolution of the boundary between the seeker and the source. The coronation was the preparation for this union, the vesting of the soul with the qualities necessary to withstand the intensity of the divine presence. Now, in the heart of the divine, the soul experiences the fullness of its being and the absolute reality of its existence. The eternal day is the day of this union, and the sacred hour was its dawn. The scribe closes the volume, for the story of the soul has reached its fulfillment in the heart of the divine. The words on the page are but a faint shadow of the reality they describe, for the glory of the coronation and the beauty of the eternal day are beyond the reach of human language. Yet let these words be a beacon for those who still travel the way, and a reminder of the destiny that awaits every soul that perseveres. The narrow gate is open, and the way that leads to life is sure. The sacred hour is approaching for every seeker, and the coronation of the soul is the promise of the eternal covenant. May the light of the divine guide every wanderer home, and may the peace of the sovereign destiny be the portion of every heart. The day is dawning, and the light is infinite. The soul is ready, and the divine is waiting. All is well in the heart of the eternal, and the journey of the spirit continues in glory and in power forever and ever.